We've all watched wrestling wondering how certain actions could have been performed or if the wrestlers are really in pain. As you can imagine, it is a universe filled with tricks, stratagems, and other subtleties, so that we are embarked in a great illusion without noticing anything. It's a pleasure to meet you on the Wrestling Paradise to reveal the most amazing tricks of the WWE. Are you ready to be shocked to learn how Vince McMahon was able to stage his death live? Do you want to know more about the secret techniques of wrestlers to make their blows seem more violent? Do you want to discover the words that the commentators were not allowed to say? And are you curious to learn how rapper Snoop Dogg was able to improvise after Shane McMahon got injured at WrestleMania 39? You have come to the right place, because in our video we will see together several production secrets that are hidden behind the magic of wrestling, and they will surprise you. You are on the Wrestling Paradise, the most amazing WWE tricks. Let's go. Vince McMahon, the one who was the WWE boss for many years, had a certain vision that you absolutely had to respect. This is the case of commentators. They receive very precise instructions that they must seriously follow. We must not forget that they are very important during a show. They are the ones who give a lot of information to the viewers. They tell us all the elements we need to know to follow the show and almost never stay silent.
Things got a little interesting.
That's why Vince McMahon was in contact with them all the time during the shows. It even went further. A list had been made of words that commentators should not use. Here are some words that were banned: belt, hospital, business, industry. In some cases, it was simply a matter of preferences, but there was also meaning. Vince McMahon didn't want his company to be seen as a big corporation that makes a lot of money, but rather as an organization that makes entertainment. It reflected a better image. Every detail was controlled to give the image that the Federation wanted to have. On the other hand, when we learn that the word interesting had to be avoided, it is more complicated to see its meaning. It should also be noted that, in the case of merch products, the commentators had to say available now rather than on sale. Another amazing rule was the fact that the words wrestlers or wrestling were forbidden. It was better to say superstars and sports entertainment. In summary, the company wanted to avoid all terms that refer directly to wrestling and instead do everything to be seen as an entertainment empire that does television shows. All these rules also had to be respected by the wrestlers themselves when they spoke on the microphone. As you may know, the WWE is no longer as popular as it was in the late 90s. While it was watched by millions of viewers every week at the time, the ratings have dropped over the years, although that hasn't stopped the company from getting impressive financial numbers since. For example, it has exceeded $1 billion in revenue, with massive merch sales, more than 100 million subscribers on YouTube, and record numbers on social media. But in 2019, there was a show where this disinterest of the general public was worse than ever. Stomping Grounds. It took place in an arena that had a capacity of 23,000 people. On the card, we had Seth Rollins against Baron Corbin for the Universal title in the main event, Kofi Kingston against Dolph Ziggler, or even Becky Lynch against Lacey Evans in the opening match. That card really didn't arouse interest. There were only 6,000 people on site that day. Apparently 1,500 of them had not even paid for a ticket for this show, while the price had however been reduced to $20.
Such good shit!
Of these 1,500 people, some had free seats, others were paid to fill the empty seats in the arena. It's just common sense. We wouldn't want to see empty chairs on TV during the show. It sends a negative message to viewers, while a packed arena gives the image of a product that interests many people. If the Federation showed signs that it no longer interested the fans, there would be a snowball effect, and there would be even more people who would stop following the product. On that day, at Stomping Grounds, there was even a part of the arena that had been closed with the installation of a large black curtain. With this trick, all the people on site would be grouped in a smaller part of the arena, and so it would seem that there are a lot of people, that it is sold out. Of course, the camera should not film these closed areas so as not to destroy the whole illusion. In the same idea, the commentators will say that the arena is packed at the beginning of the show, while not at all, but everything is done in order to give the image of success, to encourage people to follow the shows. On the other hand, the fans who are on site when the company does this kind of thing clearly see the reality. It's 2007 and an iconic scene is going to take place on Monday Night Raw, one of WWE's weekly shows. Vince McMahon looked a little weird that day. He could be seen leaving the arena and slowly walking towards his limousine. But at that moment, the vehicle exploded. It's one of the craziest show endings ever. Everything leads us to believe that we witnessed Vince McMahon's death live. The Federation will play the game the following days pretending that he really died. For the record, imagine that Donald Trump, a friend of Vince, had called the company asking if he was dead. Of course, it was a great staging. Vince McMahon wasn't in the limo when it exploded. In fact, the scene where we saw him walking in front of the wrestlers and leaving the arena was indeed filmed live. But the next camera shot where we saw him open the door of the limousine and get inside had been shot before the show and integrated into the live editing. The illusion was not totally perfect though. Like cinema, where it also happens, there was what is called a continuity error. At first, when Vince arrives, we saw two WWE trucks in the background. But after this change of camera shot, there was only one. However, this staging will have been useless since just a few days later, there will be the scandal around the wrestler Chris Benoit, who killed his wife and son before committing suicide. It will force Vince McMahon to come back as if nothing had happened, and we will never know where this explosion of the limousine was supposed to lead. An accessory that wrestlers can use in wrestling is fireballs, and it is often impressive. Kane's supernatural character could use it, which suited him perfectly. Seeing this, we can wonder how it can be done safely since the wrestlers seem to have fire in their faces. The key behind this technique is the flash paper. This paper, made of cellulose nitrate, is reputed to catch fire very quickly on contact with a flame. Since it is very fast, the risk of getting burned is less important. But the risk is also not zero. On that day, for example, Hulk Hogan wanted to use it and burned his own eyebrows. It reminds me of the barriers around the ring, which the Federation often uses to create shocking moments. Obviously, when it happens regularly, it's much less shocking. In any case, to be sure that the barrier collapses at the moment of impact, technicians unscrew it. It will enable them to be much less resistant. For everything to go well during a show, it is essential that all the actors communicate with each other. The wrestlers, the referees, the commentators, the backstage managers. It is essential to be able to react to unforeseen events, to synchronize during a difficult stunt. If we pay attention, we can notice moments when wrestlers talk to each other, whether discreetly or not at all. We had an illustration of all this at WrestleMania 39 in 2023. We had a segment there with rapper Snoop Dogg and The Miz. The latter will be forced to have a match against Shane McMahon. Vince's son is renowned for the spectacular moments in which he has been involved. After a few seconds, however, there will be a problem. Shane McMahon injures his knee. He can no longer continue, which puts them in a complicated situation. They must know how to react. In the end, Snoop Dogg will attack The Miz and win the match thanks to the People's Elbows move, usually The Rock's finisher. Of course, the rapper had been instructed to finally do this. In fact, a cameraman had told Snoop Dogg to destroy The Miz, knowing that the cameraman talks to the company officials. This example makes us realize how important it is to know how to improvise quickly in wrestling, where the unexpected can easily happen. The viewers will not realize anything, but the people on site will be able to see what really happened. Often, when you watch wrestling, you hear noises at the moment of the impact of a kick and you are impressed. We really have the feeling that the blow was real, but there is actually a trick that wrestlers use quite discreetly to give this impression. Look at this brutality by the Scotsman Drew McIntyre, for example. It's brutal, and it looks like the wrestlers are knocked out by the Claymore, the name of this move. But in reality, Drew uses a very precise technique. At the moment his foot hits his rival's head, he slams his thigh with his hand. If we really pay attention to it, we notice it, but it remains very discreet anyway, and the final result is great.
Oh my God, not again!
It's not just Drew McIntyre who does it. Others do it for their kicks too. The Scot also does it for his headbutt. Roman Reigns also does it for his punches in his opponent's face. However, it should be noted that Vince McMahon had banned this technique because he found it too obvious. You got it. In wrestling, they try to create an illusion so that everything seems as real and impressive as possible. Here is another technique that the WWE uses for this purpose: amplifiers. It's important that when wrestlers fall on the ring mat, the sound is as loud as possible so that we can believe their pain as much as possible, knowing that it's wood and that it hurts anyway.
Hey, you saw it, a collision!
To have this very loud noise every time a wrestler falls, they put a microphone under the ring. It will be connected to an amplifier. Quite naturally, if we then turn the volume of the amplifier to the max, the sound of the impact will be powerful. It's a very clever strategy, and if we don't know it, we couldn't guess. On the other hand, they unwittingly revealed this secret on the day of the Bad Blood show in 1997. At the moment when referees were inspecting the underside of the ring with a lamp, we saw this amplifier. You understand it. For a WWE show to have the desired effect on the spectators, it is a team effort. The cameramen are very important in this staging. One type of moment where we can realize it is when a superstar makes a surprise appearance on a show. We remember WrestleMania 32, where John Cena made his unexpected return to accompany The Rock in his match against the Wyatt family. For the people who were watching the show on their television, it was a total surprise and a memorable moment. But the experience was different for those in the stadium. If we pay attention, just as he was about to arrive, we could see fans in the crowd looking towards the stage. In reality, there were cameramen who had gone there to be able to film John Cena as well as possible as soon as he appeared. It makes sense if a wrestler arrives and we have to wait 30 seconds to see him on our screen, it would suck. By being on site and seeing the cameraman positioning himself, the spectators therefore understood that something was going to happen. We may find that it spoils the surprise effect for them even if they obviously had no idea that it would be John Cena. One of the biggest tricks that the WWE uses is the underside of the ring. When The Undertaker appears by surprise, for example, he actually takes advantage of the few seconds in the dark to get out of this hiding place and climb into the ring. If we don't know this technique at all, we can wonder how these wrestlers know when it's their turn to appear. It's very simple. When they are hidden under the ring, they have a small screen with them on which they watch what is happening in the show. This is a trick that has been around for many years. In 2014, for example, at Extreme Rules, John Cena faced the late Bray Wyatt. There was a memorable scene in which a child appeared in front of Cena after a few seconds in the dark. As you can imagine, he was also hidden under the ring, and this trick had enabled him to know precisely when he should appear. In wrestling, we have often seen spectacular actions with the commentators' table. You should know that they are set up to break more easily than conventional tables. However, the model of these tables has not always been the same. At one time, they were the same as those used in the ring, then other models, always with the goal to break them easily. Sometimes it even happened that they broke without it being planned. Some observers may have noticed that depending on the model of the table that the commentators had, it was going to be broken later in the show or not. In the newer model, they even added a foot under the table in the center to prevent it from being destroyed when wrestlers stand on it. In any case, this is an element that the WWE takes very seriously. And that was it for these craziest wrestling tricks. With all these explanations, we were able to realize how it is a world where we are kept as discreetly as possible in an illusion. It is often a question of creating an impressive effect to bring us even more into the story of a fight or to manipulate us psychologically to have a certain image of the company. Whatever we think about it, it is undeniable that it is a unique universe whose actors deserve respect. This makes me offer you a debate. For you, is it important that fans have as little information as possible about all these tricks to enjoy the shows? Come and give your opinion. It will be interesting to exchange our points of view in the comments. We can say that pro wrestling is a fascinating world. I hope you had a good time watching this video, and I invite you to stay on the paradise of wrestling to look at some other ones. See you right away.
And that's the bottom line, 'cause Stone Cold said so. What?